Okay, good morning. So we're starting Siman Nun Hey, an interesting Siman, Dinei Kaddish, 22 Seifim, all about the halachas of Kaddish. So the Mechaber begins and he just says, Omrim Kaddish, we say Kaddish. So let's just do the Mishnah Berurah on these two words. Omrim Kaddish says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Kotan Aleph, Kashet Toiv L'mayet Bebrachas, Kach Toiv L'mayet Bekadeshim. In the same way that you shouldn't say brachas just sort of unnecessarily, well, so too you shouldn't say Kaddish unnecessarily. So take a look at number one. Interesting footnote. V'tam hadova, what is the reason you can't just say Kaddish as many times as you want? Kosav b'shalet shuvas pe'as sodcha she'svar pshutahi she'ein zeh michlal yiras Hashem yisbarach lo geshes al hakodesh tamid. You can't be that you're sort of constantly going towards the kodesh too often. It becomes a little bit degrading. That familiarity breeds contempt, and therefore you can't say Kaddish too many times. Now, what about an ovel? This is quite a common question. An ovel has already davened in 1 minyan. And he goes into a shul when the tzibur have already davened. Sorry, they're now davening. So he's already davened, and then he walks into the second minyan or something. If you've already davened and you happen to go into a shul and they've just finished Aleinu, then you don't need to say Kaddish again. You shouldn't just some add to saying Kaddish. Ulam, however, this is an interesting ulam. If the tzibur know that you are an ovel, they may not know that you've already davened. Then they sort of marasayan almost, and therefore you should say. So I'll tell you when this applies. I know myself. Shabbos morning I daven Hashkama, and straight after Hashkama is the main minyan. So in my year of Avelis, I had this question occasionally that sometimes you finish at 9:10, and then the main minyan starts. And by the time you finish and put your talis away and whatever, they're up to Rabbi Shmuel. So do you say Kaddish there or not? So that would be a good example that some people may not know if I've already davened. So for me to stand there, they know I'm an oval. I'm not saying Kaddish. It looks wrong. So you would say Kaddish in that situation. I had an interesting, funny exchange with Rabbi Spanner that I asked him about being married by Kadeshim. So I went up to him after shul once and said to him, "What's the story of being married by Kadeshim?" So he said, "You can go in, just wish Mazel Tov." I said, "Well, I don't know what he's talking about." So he thought I meant going to Kaddish. He's a Chassidish Havara. So being married by Kadeshim, you have to go in and eat, whatever. Just go in and say Mazel Tov, yeah. But that's not what I was asking. But so the bottom line is that you shouldn't be married by Kadeshim. If you've already davened and you find another minyan, then don't say Kaddish now. But if the people in that other minyan are chayshish that you're being mezalzel in Kaddish, then one should avoid that. Okay, continuing the Mishnah Berurah. V'ayim b'achreinim on the top line of Sif Kotan Aleph. V'ayim b'achreinim shekaru tagar al zeh shenesof masor b'nei Adam. V'ayim kama Kaddish al Pesukei Torah Mishnah Gemara. The Chazal are critical on people who just repeatedly say Kaddish unnecessarily. Asar Yehudim lo yazim. Interesting halacha. 10 people who are foreigners, i.e., they don't speak Lashon HaKodesh, she'ein mi sheyodeh b'Lashon HaKodesh le'etzim ma'asam midei chayva, yuchol echad mehem liyashlech tzibur v'lo Kaddish u'kedusha b'Lashon v'lo yimar, so Kaddish u'kedusha b'Lashon la'az. They're able to say Kaddish and kedusha in la'az, in whatever it is, Italian, whatever it is. Look at footnote 2. Because of lekamon b'shem shalat shuvas chasm sofer she'tefillah b'la'az muteres rak b'akroi. But that's only allowed. Tefillah in a foreign language is only allowed on occasional basis. Also, to fix a minyan in Italian, in Spanish, in Chinese, or whatever, in an ofin kavua, in a more permanent way, that is also. Okay, that's to come. Kaddish, Pirush, Acha Pesukei de Zimra, that means the Kaddish after Pesukei de Zimra, or Bo'inan Asara. In other words, the Kaddish just after Yishtabach. And for that you need 10 people. Shekol Dova Shebekdusha, Kagan Kaddish Kedusha, or Baruchu, or Kriyas HaTorah, and Nesiyas Kapayim. All these Dvarim Shebekdusha. You need a minyan. Shenema, how do I know that? V'nigdashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael. V'nigdashti l'dvar shebekdusha b'toich b'nei Yisrael. V'yafinim b'gzer shava toich b'meraglim. T'chsiv ad mosai lo'eda haroa hazos. Yotzu Yeshua v'cholev. Take away Yeshua and Kolev. The Eidah Hazos refers to the Meraglim less those two. Nisha Asar, you're left with 10 people. Or Kurin Eidah. And therefore, when it says V'nigdashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael, you learn the Gzer Shava toich. And therefore, that's also 10 people. V'chol HaKadeshim shoven lezeh. And all the Kadeshim are going to be considered the same as this. Afilu Kaddish Rabbanon Acha Limud. Even a Kaddish Rabbanon after the Limud, you need 10 people. But during when you're saying Pesukei de Zimra, then you may not need a minyan. Even if you say Pesukah de Zimra with Yechidas, that's okay. So long as you've got 10 at the time of saying Kaddish, that's enough. So too, if you start beginning Mariv, and there is not yet a minyan, you're davening b'chidus, or bo asor leis hameres Kaddish, and then at the time of Kaddish you have a minyan. Yachol ema Kaddish, you can say Kaddish. V'chein b'chol limud she'adam loimed psukim ha'agada amiris aleinu amiris ashrei shekoydem mincha or b'amiris tehillim b'boike im hoi b'li minyan. So you start ashrei and you haven't got your minyan. And then when it's daven tekavmin, all of a sudden by the end of Ashrei your minyan rocks up. Sheyesh lema Kaddish, then you can say Kaddish. Morgan Avram b'simen samachtes v'reish lamdalad le'kosav kain v'chein me'agro b'simen reish lamdalad nuchag Morgan Avram. Al kain hiskim achreinim ta'anoch and shem rach kach mizmer shleish psukim. If they came halfway through Ashrei, say at least 3 psukim or some mizmer v'yom Kaddish and then say Kaddish. V'ayim b'prima godin mishpsei zov v'skimmel t'mukach minei d'lim psukim t'zimmer in tfilas arvis gam. Okay, now let's go back to the Mechaber. So we said Omrim Kaddish at the beginning of Nun Hey. Ve'ein Omrim V'sei Pachas Me'asor Zecharim. You need to have at least 10 males, B'nei Chorin, who are not Avodim, Gedolim, who are adults. That means not just in years. I.e. She'eviu Shtei Sa'aros. They've also got Shtei Sa'aros. V'hu Adin, 2 hairs. V'hu Adin L'Kedusha Baruch Hu She'ein Emorim Pachas Me'asor. So too then you need to have a minyan. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Gimel. Zecharim, who's that coming to exclude? La'afukei Noshim, to exclude women. V'avodim Uktanim. V'hu Adin Tumtum Androgenes V'chatziev V'chatz Ben Chorin Ein Mitzaref. All of those are not mitzaref to a minyan. Gedolim, I'm Prichodesh Shimon Samachtes, Shekarot Irer Ala Makomis, Shenagim Shakotan Eme Kaddish, for the places that allow a child to say Kaddish. If you look at number 11, Omnom, the Indian Kaddish Acha Aleinu, Kosovo Lekamon, Shetignu Loniach Kaddish, Zel Yisayim Katanim. That Katanim can say, Kim She'enim Yechoyim Yashtuchi Tzibah V'lem Kaddish. That one they can say. I think the Mishnah Berurah is talking about a situation where there's only one person saying Kaddish. But I think our minhag is that if there's a Nebuch Cotton saying Kaddish and he's with a tzibah, I think the minhag is that he does say in all the Kaddishim. But I think what this Mishnah Berurah is talking about is when there's only one Cotton, like in monks, when they have only one person saying Kaddish. Yeah, but that we'll see in a second. I'm not sure if it's this one or the next Sif. It lists what there's. Oh no, it's coming up now. We're talking about the 7 Kaddishim, which are more of a chiyuv as part of tefillah. That a cotton can't do it. Yeah, we'll see in a second. So we're saying, the cotton shouldn't say the Kaddish, which is going to be the more of the chiyuv type of Kaddish. That's not what that's shaloi kedin. Even if you've got a minyan there, even if you've got a minyan, the cotton should not be saying Kaddish in these particular Kaddishim. Interesting question. What if you've got 2 or 3 people saying Kaddish together and they're not in sync, which is very, it's very common. And in many shuls, I know in Brujlain and other shuls, everyone comes to the bimah and they say it together, so you've got it mamish in sync. It's much easier for the people to say it in sync, but when you've got one oval standing in this corner and the other one in the other one, it's very hard. I know that some people they go up to the another oval. I know in the Adas and Hashkama there's one oval who's on one side of the shul. For every Kaddish he goes over to the other side and he sits and they sit together, so they're in sync. But what if they're not in sync? And what do you answer on main? How does that work? So these are the rules. And one is a bit faster than the other one. If they get to the point where it's teich kedei dibur, which is like a second and a half or whatever it is, 2 seconds, and then only say Amen once, either with the first one or the second one, and that counts for both. But if there's a bigger gap between the 2 people saying Kaddish, then you answer Amen or Baruch Baruch Shema to each one. Unbelievable halacha this. Can you get a clone to make your minyan? Yeah, in provincial communities, this might be a very interesting question. Can you get clones? Can you? So this goes back. Everything's in halacha, right? So Sefer Adam Hanoitz Alei Sefer Yitzir. He's like a golem. He's created through some sort of Sefer Yitzir, which is a Kabbalah book. Im mitztaref la'asara olechol davar shmusha ayim b'tshuvas Chacham Tzvi simin tzadi gimel Sefer Ikar Dinim asher kosav inyan zeh. So if you look at 13, the Chacham Tzvi is mesupek whether or not a clone counts as a minyan. She'ein mitztaref leminyan, and he says lahalacha you should not be mitztarefing with a minyan. Okay, for Seder, that's a whole big shir in itself. Let's just finish off this sif. He can't. A person who is not an adult, etc., can't join as a kedusha. He doesn't. He's not part of the minyan. When you need a minyan for chazoras hashatz, it's a mikri dovish because of the kedusha that you've got in chazoras hashatz. When you say kedusha, during the chazoras hashatz, ein poichsin mishiva kaddish mechol yom. You can't have less than 7 kaddishes a day. Now we're not talking about the kaddish yosem. We're talking about the shliach tzibur's kaddish in a regular tefillah. So here we go. Kenega sheva b'yom hilal tzicha, because of the pasuk which says sheva b'yom, I will praise you 7 times. What are the 7? Dahainu. Echad acha pazuke dezimra shu acha yishtabach. That's the first one, the kaddish after yishtabach before baruch hu. V'sheni chatzi kaddish acha tefillas yudches brachos. It's the chatzi kaddish after Shemona Esra. V'shlishi acha seder kedusha, the kaddish which is after uvolat tzion. V'boirim gam kein tiskabas loisoin. Shu shaykh gam kein tefillas Shemona Esrei. U'revi acha aleinu sheish ba'amiris pesukim. Then the 4th one is in aleinu. That's 4 in the morning. V'chamishi acha ashrei b'mincha. The 5th one is after ashrei mincha before Shemona Esra. V'shishi acha tefillas mincha, and then the 6th one is after mincha. Shvi acha kriya shema shel arvis is after kriya shema on Mariv before kodim tefillas Shemona Esrei. So there you have 7. The kaddish acha tefillas arvis, the kaddish which we say after the end of Mariv, afu gam kein mitzvah, even though it may be a mitzvah, lo kachashvin bechlal elo asher, is not part of the 7 that we just listed. Ayin shom belevush hatam, and the levush gives the tam over there. Okay, Peseder, we'll leave it at that.